In honor of Valentine's Day week, I want to share with you my love story. In terms of YA romance, it would be a uh, enemies to lovers story. When I first met my husband, it was at a teen camp, and I saw him multiple times after that at different conferences and youth conferences that I would attend. I was 16 and he was 21, and I thought he was very cute. He looked young for his age, and so when I found out how old he really was, I said, oh, no, 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 way too old for me, not interested. He is an adult and grown man. I am still a teenager. So put that out of my mind. But I saw him all the time. And when you have a crush on someone, you're infatuated with someone, you tend to have, especially women, we tend to always know where that person is. It's like this invisible string tying us to them in a room where if you look up, you just always know they're this way. Or you wonder, you kind of just know where they are in a room at all times, and you wonder, have they noticed me? Are they looking for me like I'm looking for them? Do I walk into a space and right away make sure I find them to know if they're in here? That was me for many years. While I kind of knew who my husband was figuring out who he was, and even though he was older and I wasn't that interested, I kind of just had this little crush on him still. Come college, when I got into college, there was one summer where my mom, I guess, found out he was single, gave him my number, and invited him to dinner with our family. We were going out to dinner, and he showed up there at this family celebration that we were having. And that entire summer, he continued to show up at all these different things. And it turns out my mom was inviting him. And I very quickly got very upset about it. I didn't want to go to the movies with him, and yet he showed up to go to the movie with me and my brother. I did not want him coming to family dinners, and yet when we went out to eat as a family and celebrate something, he was there. He started coming to my house just to hang out, watch a movie, go swim, spend time together, and I never initiated that. I never asked for that. He never asked me out. He just came and spent time there, and I got very quickly aggravated by him. I was very annoyed by it all. I didn't ask for it, and I wanted it to stop. There was one day in particular that he showed up, and my mom, very cheesy, the way moms are, says, "Ooh, there's a man in a nice car in the driveway to see you." And I was just so fed up with it, fed up with her inviting him over, fed up with him showing up all the time, that I went to my room and I started bawling my eyes out. And my brother, who was like my best friend at the time, he came to me and he said, "Do you want me to tell him to leave? Do you want me to get him out of here?" And I just said, "No, I'll talk to him." And I was finally resigned to say, okay, this guy, we're done. Like, we're not even dating. You're not even trying to date me. You're just here all the time. So I was going to give him a piece of my mind and tell him to get out. And I didn't care if it hurt my mom's feelings. I didn't care if it hurt his feelings. I was done. Well, I walk out to meet him out at the driveway because for whatever reason, he didn't come in. And I walked out to his car. He's sitting on the hood of his car acting all cool because he's a 90s kid. And I just said, "Listen, I need you to go home." And I probably looked all red and blubbery from crying. And he said, "Can I take you out for coffee? Just me and you, no one else. Not your mom, not your brother, not your family. Can we just go out for coffee?" And I agreed because I also am a peacemaker and I don't like to hurt people's feelings. And I didn't want to let him down too hard. So we went out for coffee. And he was very straightforward in letting his intentions be known. He was very clear that he wanted to date me. He did not just want to be friends. He didn't see any path where we could be friends. Either we dated or we stopped seeing each other whatsoever. And I was okay with that because I didn't really want to see him much anyway. So I agreed to let him try to date me. I don't know if that makes sense. I said, I don't know that I'm ready to date anyone. What I told him was, I've dated very few people in my life. I've had 3 boyfriends at the time, and I said, I don't want to date anyone unless I know I'm going to marry them. Like, I'm done with dating and breaking up. I'm done with, just messing around, and not that I dated a lot or messed around a lot. I didn't want to go through that because even the best of breakups still kind of hurts your heart a little bit. And I was very protective of my heart. So he asked if we could keep going on a couple of dates until I felt comfortable. And I said, okay, but I will not date you unless I think I will marry you. So you need to decide if that's okay with you, if that's where you see this going, because that's how serious I'm going to take any dating relationship. And he came back the very next day and he said, okay, I think I'm going to marry you. He says, I want to marry you. So I'd like to take you out on a date. And that is how our dating relationship began. Really, he pursued me for about another month until I agreed to marry him. And despite what I said of that I would not date anyone until I knew I was going to marry them, uh, I agreed to date him not knowing. And we dated for almost 2 years, where I was so in such turmoil inside because I did not know if he was the one. All my life, and reading fantasies and fairy tales and all these, wonderful books talk about how you just kind of know when you meet the one. There is the one. When you meet the man or woman, that you're supposed to marry, people talk about that love at first sight, or, that after that enemies to lovers, you just know. I never had that feeling that I just knew. I never emotionally felt like, yes, he is the one. He is it. I remember even on my wedding day, I thought, okay, I am making a choice to love this man, because love is not a feeling. And that is really what you see so much in the Laurel Vaughn series. Self-conclusion especially, and then into altar and prophecy as well. But for my story, I made the decision that love is not a feeling. Definitely there is a feeling of love. There's that feeling of infatuation, the butterflies, the excitement. But I knew that no matter how old we got, no matter how long we were together, that wouldn't always be there. There are going to be hard days. There are going to be tough days where I maybe didn't want to be with him, maybe didn't want to love him the way the world sees love. But for me, I look to scripture because I'm a big Bible believer. I've lived my whole life in that faith. And to me, the definition of love was clearly defined in the Bible. Love is patient. Sorry, love is patient. I can't even quote the verse right now, which is crazy. Love is patient and kind. It does not keep records of wrongs. If you read that, it's in 2 Corinthians. If you read the verse, it very clearly just spells out what love is. And nowhere in there does it say love is butterflies. Love is a tingle on your skin when he touches you. Love is this, and that. No, love is, it's not a glimmer in the eye. It's not the way someone kisses you. Love is a choice. And I have so strongly believed that all my life. And I've had people that have felt bad for me because they're like, oh, you don't know real love. I really think I do. There are times I still get butterflies seeing my husband come home from work. And then there are times where, I think the strongest love we've had in our marriage is after a fight, and we have to sit down and be raw and just so open and vulnerable in our communication and sharing who we are and why something hurt us. And that to me really is much more of what love is. Learning to be patient with one another, learning to be kind, learning not to hold things against each other, learning just all those little things that make life with someone more wonderful. So that is our love story. If you've read the Laurel Vaughn series, especially Self-Conclusion, then you know that it is full of unrequited love, which is a little bit of our story. My husband, after that day where I said I won't date anyone unless I will marry them, he knew right then. He made the decision that he wanted to marry me. Whereas for me, it took a lot of time. His feelings were unrequited, or I had unrequited feelings towards him. I was the Killian. Our love story definitely plays out in Self-Conclusion to a point. It's not exactly the same. But that's why I love the enemies to lovers romance theme in YA novels a lot more, because there's so much more growth that I feels like happens usually between both characters, sometimes just one. But I like that love story a lot more than, love at first sight or maybe friends to loves, because I feel like there's so much more growth that happens through both parties when you go from a love that is maybe unrequited or unreturned. And it doesn't always change. Sometimes that love stays unrequited. But in this case, I learned to love him as well, and I chose to love him. And that is a big thing with the prophecy in the Laurel Vaughn series, is choice, and that love is a choice. So I hope you've enjoyed my personal romance story. I would love to hear from you guys. Drop in the DMs or send me a video, however you want to do it. I want to hear other love stories. They are inspirational. They are food for thought. And, there are crazy stories out there of how people fall in love. So please share them with me. I'd love to hear from you.